safe, not panic. Good. Getting older, busier, all that good stuff. Good response.
Anything coming tonight? No team or group or anything coming tonight?
You all right? Good. Here. Oh, okay. I think I heard Craig say it. They're still up to what it is best they can.
Good evening and welcome to the November 9th meeting of the Southline Community Schools Board of Education, calling the meeting in order at 7 p.m. Mrs. Ertalk, you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Dashner?
I am here.
Mr. Kennedy?
I'm here.
Mr. Schweigler? I am here. Mr. Abate?
Here.
Mr. Leftwich?
Here.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Here.
Okay, we have 6 members present and have a quorum. If you'd please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. This brings up our first opportunity for public comments. I do have one card so far, and that's Lisa Welch. If you'd like to come up and make your comment.
Thanks. So on behalf of the SLEA, we want to acknowledge the great loss our school community has experienced with the sudden passing of Angie Badish this past weekend. She has played a vital role in our district and impacted countless lives. We extend our condolences to her family. She will be greatly missed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments tonight?
So first, I want to thank the board for managing or navigating these waters in these especially difficult times. Past year and a half has been very challenging, and your ability to pivot and make decisions on behalf of our school district has been admirable. May not have agreed with all the decisions, but I do respect that it is uncharted territory for all of us, and you are responding as you see appropriate. With that being said, I am here to talk about the mask mandate imposed on our children. I know this is a topic brought up in all the recent board meetings, but before you pass judgment that this is just another parent coming to complain, please listen intently to the request I have for you as board members. I would like to ask each board member their position regarding the mask mandate for our children. However, I realize that will put you on the spot, and there's no benefit in doing this. So instead, I thought I'd share some statistics with you and then make my request. While most COVID cases right now are in the 0 to 18 age group, there are 0 COVID deaths in this age group. In the Southline community, less than 1% of the population is currently diagnosed with COVID. In our school district, there's also less than 1% of the children diagnosed with COVID. With such a low number, it seems odd to me that we still require our children to wear masks all day long. Right now, a child has a better likelihood of being injured or killed in a car accident or pedestrian-related accident than from COVID. In Livingston County, where there is not a mask mandate, the percentage rate of kids who have been diagnosed with COVID is approximately 10%. This is consistent with the population within that county as well. While that rate is higher, it still means that 90% of the kids are not contracting this virus. Now, you could debate this shows the mask mandate is working, which is why our community and school district is at a lower rate. But in Livingston County, at least the parents have a choice. Our choice in this county has been taken away. The other part of this mask mandate is the fact that our kids only need to wear masks when on school campus or on the bus. Our kids are certainly getting together outside of school and at competitive events where masks may or may not be required. And they're not wearing masks if they're not required. Are they only at risk more when they're at school? Is COVID contained to the school building and buses only? I know those are silly questions, but I don't understand the logic. The answer to these questions are obvious. The bigger question is, what are we doing about it? The board has done a great job in saying we are just following the law and pointing the finger at the Oakland County Health Department. While I believe it is true that you are simply following the law, do you believe what is being imposed upon us? Again, I will not ask each of you your position regarding this mandate, but if you do not agree with it, what are you doing about it? It is easy to hide behind the Oakland County Health Board, but do you believe the mask mandate is right? The answer is yes, then just own it. State that you agree with the mask mandate, and we as parents at least know where our elected board members stand. If you don't believe in the mask mandate, then why are you not fighting for our children? Nothing changes if you sit back and do nothing. There is power in numbers, and I believe as a school board member, you likely have more influence with the Oakland County Health Department than parents. There is an Oakland County board meeting tomorrow night at 5 p.m. They listen to public comment on any topic at the end of that meeting. How many of you intend to go to this meeting to fight this mandate? How many of you will fight for our children? Our kids want to return to normal. They don't want to have homecoming dance where they're dressed up in their formal attire in the cold and rain because they can't be indoors, otherwise they have to wear a mask. They want to have prom indoors where they can see each other's faces. They want to interact with their teachers where they're not struggling to hear what the other person is saying. I am just one parent fighting, and I may be fighting a losing battle, but at least I'm fighting. My daughter will see this as an example of somebody who believes in something and is trying to make a change. If you do nothing as a board member, I have to assume you are in agreement with the mask mandate, and that's fine if that's your belief. It's okay to have a different opinion from mine, but at least you have an opinion, and please own it. Mr. Bates' comments from a meeting last month regarding the community coming in, and this is a quote, coming in over and over again, asking the board to defy the law is disheartening. I am not here to ask you to defy the law, and while I cannot speak for other parents, I do not believe other parents are coming in asking you to defy the law. We're asking for you, members who have been elected by the parents to represent our children, to fight for our children. We're asking for your help. We are asking for you to take a stance and try to influence change. And if that's not the message you are hearing, or you're walking away with different perception, then maybe us as parents should be disheartened and not you. I encourage members of the board and parents who believe we should not have mask mandate to attend the Oakland County Board meeting tomorrow night. Fight for what you believe in.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments tonight? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Item number 5, approval of minutes. We have the October 19th, 2021 and October 26th, 2021 meeting minutes tonight. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move the approval of minutes from October 19th, 2021 and October 26th, 2021.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Is there any questions or discussion? Hearing none, Mrs. Zertelk, you call the roll, please.
Yes, I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes. Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 6 on the agenda is the approval of the bills. We have the October 2021 prepaids, November 2021 bond bills, October 2021 wires and ACH transactions, and the October 2021 revenue report. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve bills for October 21 prepaids, November bond bills, October wires and ACH, and the October revenue report.
Support?
By Mr. Leftwich. Okay. Moved by Mr. Kennedy, support by Mr. Leftwich. Is there any discussion or questions? Okay, Mr. Telk, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 7, we have a sympathy resolution. Mr. Abate, can you read the resolution for us, please?
Sure. Whereas the Board of Education was deeply saddened to learn of the untimely death of Angela Angie Badish, and whereas Angie was a valued, caring, and highly respected staff member in the South Lyon Community Schools, a teacher of choir and band at South Lyon Middle School and Millennium Middle School since 1999, and whereas she consistently demonstrated her outstanding dedication, caring, and commitment to students, parents, and colleagues, and will be greatly missed by all, and whereas she led her music students in earning countless awards and accolades and served as a mentor for past and current music teachers, and whereas Angie will always be remembered with great fondness and with a profound sense of gratitude for the immeasurable contributions she made to our school district, to the students she served, and to the colleagues with whom she worked. And now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Education of South Lyon Community Schools offers our deepest sympathy to the family, friends, and colleagues of Angie Badish.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. I would move that we accept this resolution on behalf of the board to the family.
Support.
Mr. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
Yes.
I vote yes. Ms. Yankelis Pierce.
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes 6-0. We do have a nice certificate that will be signed by the officers of the board and be provided to the family. Item number 8, hiring of instructional staff. Mr. Toth.
Thank you. Retirement required the hiring of the following instructional staff. Kimberly Ellis, she is a counselor at South Lyon High School. Recommended action is to approve the hiring of Ms. Ellis listed or effective October 25th, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Toth. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Kimberly Ellis as SLHS counselor.
Second?
Okay, moved by Ms. Youngquist Pierce and supported by Mr. Leftwich. Discussion? Okay, Mrs. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Ms. Yankelis Pierce.
I vote yes.
Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Mr. Toth again.
A resignation required the hiring of the following instructional staff. Michaela Gockhale, she is a VLP kindergarten teacher, and we would like that you approve the hiring of the teacher listed above effective November 8th, 2021.
Thank you. Anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the hiring of Michaela Gockhale, VLP kindergarten teacher.
I'll support that.
Okay, moved by Ms. Youngquist Pierce, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion? Okay, Mrs. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce.
I vote yes.
Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item 10, acceptance of gift. Mr. Toth.
Yep. Ford Motor Company has granted Team 3641, the Flying Toasters, $3,000 for unrestricted use in the 2021-2022 season. Recommended action is that you accept the gift in accordance with Policy 7003.
Thank you.
I'll move to accept the gift.
I'll second.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Ms. Youngquist Pierce. Any discussion?
Just thank you very much. That's a very generous donation.
Took the words out of my mouth. Mrs. Ertel, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce.
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Dashner.
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate.
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Thank you, Ford Motor Company. Item 11, Mr. Toth again.
Yep. General Motors has graciously granted Team 3641, the Flying Toasters, $5,000 for unrestricted use in the 2021-2022 first season. Recommended action is to accept the gift in accordance with Policy 7003.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion.
I'll move.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'll move the acceptance of the gift from General Motors.
And I'll support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Leftwich, supported by Mr. Kennedy. Any discussion?
Again, thank you. $5,000. This team is very fortunate to be getting the amount of donations that they're getting.
See if the Toasters can start playing Ford and GM off each other and get the
I was gonna say, there's a little competition going on here between them.
Okay, Mr. Tulk, you call the roll, please.
Yes, Mr. Dashner,
I vote yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce,
I vote yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich.
Yes.
Mr. Abate,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 12, another gift. Mr. Toff.
Yes, the Millennium Middle School robotics team has received donations totaling $1,900 to be used for team expenses in robot building to support the 2021-2022 robotics season. Each of the donations are listed on the agenda, and our recommended action is that you accept these gifts as well in accordance with Policy 7003.
Thank you. Come for a motion.
I move to accept the gifts as listed on the agenda.
I'll support.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Zertel, supported by Mr. Abate. Discussion? Other than a thank you? Okay, Mr. Tulk, you call the roll, please.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce,
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich,
Yes.
Mr. Abate,
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner,
I vote yes. Motion passes 6-0. Item number 13, Bond 2020 Science Room renovation and wood lab casework at Southline High School. Mrs. Witt?
Yes, this agenda item was presented to the Facility Planning Committee on November 2nd, 2021. The FPC reviewed the recommendation and approved to bring the bids to the board for approval. The recommended action is to award the contract to Detroit Technical Equipment in the amount of $608,000.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the 2020 Science Room renovation casework bid.
support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mrs. Zertel. Any discussion? Okay, Mr. Tulk, you call the roll, please.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Dashner,
Yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Abate,
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich,
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce,
I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 14, Bond 2020 lighting upgrade at Brummer, Hardy, and Kent Lake. Mrs. Whittigan, Ms. Whittigan.
Yes, this agenda item was presented to the Facility Planning Committee on November 2nd, 2021. The FPC reviewed the recommendation and approved to bring the bids to the board for approval. The recommended action is to award the contract to Monroe Electric in the amount of $192,700.
Thank you. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to award the contract to Monroe Electric for the lighting upgrade via the bond 2020 for Bremer Hardy and Kent Lake.
support.
Okay, moved by Mr. Kennedy, supported by Mr. Tell. Is there any discussion, questions? Okay, Mr. Tell, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, I vote yes. Mr. Dashner,
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich,
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy,
Yes.
Mr. Abate,
Yes.
Ms. Yankelis Pierce,
I vote yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 15, technology purchase. Mr. Cox, I believe you're going to present this?
I'll do this.
Oh,
I'm sorry. This item was presented at the October 19th board meeting as information for request to purchase a new storage area network system to replace the current HP Nimble storage array that will reach end of service, end of life on December 10th, 2021. Consortium bids and background information is provided in the enclosure. The Michigan Collegiate Telecommunication Association provides consortium competitive bid pricing for SAN systems and components. There are two manufacturers included in the MyCETA bid responses. Both manufacturers, is HP Nimble and Pure Storage, are available for consideration. The recommended action is to approve the purchase of the new storage area network system to replace the current HP Nimble storage array that will reach the end of life service on December 10th as recommended.
Thank you. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the technology purchase as stated in item 15 of the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, that was moved by Ms. Youngcliffe Pierce, supported by Mr. Leftwich. Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Attell, could you call the roll, please?
Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
I vote yes.
I vote yes. Mr. Kennedy?
Yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Item number 16 is authorization for the Facilities and Planning Committee to approve notice of intent to award. Mrs. Ortell, would you like to present that?
Sure. Gonna have to read this ginormous paragraph. Current lead times for several different construction materials are currently increasing. This substantially increases the risk that long material lead times will result in delays to our projects. In order to keep projects from becoming delayed due to the increased lead time, Barton Mallow and IDS have requested the ability to issue notice of intent to award contract letters, which will provide contractors with the certainty needed to commit to material orders. This will allow material orders to be placed up to a month earlier than waiting for the award. The proposed process can be found in the enclosure and would require the ARC committee to approve the bid, recommendations before approaching the FPC committee. The FPC committee members would be contacted for agreement before the letter of intent is signed and forwarded to the contractor. The award recommendation would still come to the Board of Education for approval. The Facility Planning Committee is seeking approval from the board to authorize the FPC to approve letters of intent to award contracts for materials with long lead times. Recommended action is to approve authorization from the board to authorize the Facility Planning Committee to approve letters of intent to award contracts for materials with long lead items.
Thank you, Mrs. Ortell. Could I get a motion, please?
I'll move to authorize us to, let me change that, to authorize FPC to approve notice of intents of awards. Notice of intent to award. Why did I butcher that so horribly?
Anyone like to support this?
I'll support that.
Okay, are there any questions, discussion?
So I understand the reasoning for it, but what would happen in the event that something happens to the contractor? Like they've ordered the materials and contractor goes out of business, doesn't have people to install. Now we potentially have material sitting somewhere and not a contractor to install. Would there be any repercussions, I guess, if, let's say they ordered, we decided to not award them? Are there any instances that we have an out just in case?
My understanding is this will give the contractors enough certainty to know that we intend to award it without, I guess, bypassing the award itself. They know there still is a, albeit slight risk, that it could not be awarded. If a contractor made the order and went out of business, the contractor's actually ordering it, so they're the ones that are on the hook for it. So if they went out of business and weren't around to install, they would be stuck with the material too.
And this is intended for items that have long lead times, so
Like the steel
waiting a
beams.
month is not like we're gonna have that item, it's because we're not gonna have it in the month. Some of the items are HVAC equipment and steel, where
Yeah.
normally they might take 3 months, they're taking 6 to 8
Okay,
months.
perfect.
Or some of this authorizes the contractor to put the product into shop drawings, so that they're creating detailed drawings to produce, or even just putting us in line.
Got it.
And production may not start for 3 months down the line, but at least it gets us in line a month earlier than, waiting that month.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Think of it as saving a space farther down the road for the manufacturer for the materials that we will eventually need to get.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Okay, Mr. Attell, could you call the roll, please?
I vote yes. Ms. Yankelis Pierce?
I vote yes.
Mr. Dashner?
I vote yes.
Mr. Leftwich?
Yes.
Mr. Kennedy?
But yes,
Mr. Abate?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 6-0. Brings us to item number 17, administration, emergency operation plans. Mr. Toth?
Yes, all Michigan school districts need an approved emergency operation plan, or EOP. The original plan for South Lyon Community Schools was approved by the board on December 2nd, 2019. In accordance with Michigan law, the EOP must be reviewed in conjunction with local law enforcement and approved by the board at least once every 2 years. Our Security Administration Team, or SAT, in conjunction with our Oakland County School Resource Officers, have reviewed and amended our plan as necessary. The revisions made for 2021 are to replace the former policies and policy numbers with the corresponding new policy numbers. The EOP will be brought before the Board of Education for approval at the December 7th, 2021 meeting.
Thank you. Item B, it's 2022 summer tax collection resolution. Mrs. Witt?
Yeah, in your packets tonight, for your review is the 2022 summer tax levy resolution. All school districts are required to levy taxes in the winter unless if you pass a resolution to collect them in the summer. So you have to pass a resolution to do 100% tax levy and collect in the summer by January 1st in order to collect the 2022-23 summer tax. This is a good thing to do because a lot of school districts that don't do this have cash flow issues in the summer when you don't get your state aid payments because they have to wait till the winter to get their tax levy revenues. So this is one reason we're able to avoid the bridge loan and loans in the summer to cover that when we're not getting state aid.
Thank you. We'll see this at our next meeting for action. Legislation.
Nothing to
Superintendent
report,
Archibald.
nothing to report this evening. Keep it simple.
Okay, board committee reports, legislative,
Nothing also.
okay, policy,
I wasn't in for policy today. I don't know if there's anything for the other group to put
We
out.
did have policy meeting tonight, and there will be some upcoming policy recommendations coming to the board. We talked about one involving the fund equity of South Lyon schools and some other more minor language changes. I can't quite remember them. Miss Young appears to you.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
It was obviously such an exciting meeting that we've forgotten. Maybe we can have Mr. Toth go.
This is
over.
really freaky because I can't remember either, and this was 30 minutes ago. So,
The language change for fixed assets?
yes, very good. The language change for fixed assets.
Share it.
So,
Explain it.
Oh.
no, I think it was pretty straightforward.
And
So,
our gift policy.
correct, and then the gift policy. Wow, thank you. Scary.
So I missed
Team
a good
effort.
one.
You did miss a great one.
Barn burner.
Correct.
finance, Mr. Schwegler's not here tonight. Is there anything that you would like to add, Ms. Witt?
We pushed our October Finance Committee meeting back to right before the second October board meeting. And then our November one was scheduled for like a week later. So we actually pushed it back. So it's not until later this month.
Okay. Facilities planning, Ms. Sertel?
Yes, so we went over a couple things tonight with the letter of intent, a couple of bid awards. We have a few more projects going out. Architects and engineers will be busy for November, December to get more bids out. Went over some finishes for a couple of projects, and fortunately, we're moving along well and getting some packages complete so that we can get in line for some of those long lead items so that we're not missing any construction dates or having to postpone projects.
Thank you. Curriculum and communications, Mr. Kennedy?
We will meet Thursday.
Okay. Oakland Schools Diversity, Mr. Sertel or Mr. Leftwich?
Yes, I actually made the last meeting, and it was basically kind of housekeeping. They had a change of chairperson, and then going over, the committee's been around for a year, so they're going over goals and mission statements to make sure everything's still aligning with what the thought process is for the next year to come.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent Archibald, any other?
Just one brief other, I want to take the opportunity to pass along my condolences to Angie Badish's family, friends, and colleagues. Well, I certainly did not have the opportunity to get to know her like others did. Having had the opportunity to talk with friends and fellow workers and read some of the articles, or some of the comments from her children. We were fortunate and blessed to have her as part of our community, and any one of us would be fortunate to be described in the manner in which she was described by her children and colleagues. So again, the condolences to all who are impacted, and thank the community for coming together and supporting one another through what's obviously a tough time. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 18, reports, Southland Education Foundation, Ms. Youngcliffe Pierce.
They haven't had a meeting since our last meeting, but this weekend they are doing one of their photo fundraisers, 15-minute photo shoots with families, and they're doing them at Mayberry Park, and they are teachers who are photographers. So it's a great fundraiser. If you look on the SLEF website, then you can sign up and get in one of those slots.
Thank you. Next up is our second opportunity for public comments. I do have one additional card. Ms. Corvino.
Hi, thank you. My name is Miriam Corvino. I live in Salem Township, and up until September 3rd of this year, I had a fifth grader and a kindergartner registered at Salem Elementary. I pulled my children out of school due to the Oakland County Health Division's mask mandate, which I am strongly opposed to. I did watch the last meeting. I was unable to attend, but I did watch it on the replay, and I did hear, sorry that I can't pronounce your last name, Anthony, but I did hear you say that there's a great deal of people emailing on the other side of the debate of whether or not masks are promoting good health or not. And I heard you talk about struggling to please everybody. And so I would just ask that rather than struggling to please everybody, which you will never do, that you listen to the scientists, the industrial hygienists, the neurologists, the virologists, the microbiologists, people like Dr. Christina Parks, who testified before the Michigan House, and Kristen Megan Kelly and Tammy Clark, a neurologist also from Ann Arbor who spoke at the Oakland County Commissioners meeting. If we listen to what the scientific community is telling us and not just rely on our public health officials to tell us what to do, and actually, have a very constructive debate about these topics, I think it's very important. I'd like to know, because in August there was no risk-benefits analysis. And I'd like to know if we've gotten any further on the risk-benefits of masking our children for their mental and otherwise impacted physical health. Is the Oakland County Health Division or our school board doing anything to research that and put that data out in front of parents? And I'm going to skip ahead now to the topic of this emergency use authorization for children ages 5 to 11. I saw the propaganda on the Oakland County Health Division's webpage. I'm strongly opposed to that as well. For a number of reasons, there's lots of data. We don't have to listen to our public health officials to understand what the data is telling us. And at the moment, there's none. I'd like to know if our school board has any inkling if the health division is going to impose any kind of mandate on children. They said that they are encouraging it in order to keep our schools open. Is there any implication that they're going to be pressuring the schools to vaccinate their 5 to 11-year-old children? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Michelle Gokenauer, and I have 4 kids in the district. I have 1 in elementary, 2 in middle school, 1 in high school. My kids have been very fortunate. Only one of them has had to quarantine during this whole time. While he was quarantined, he had no instruction from his teachers except for, here's your homework. That is unacceptable to me. Luckily, he's a very intelligent child. He's able to look at his work and say, I can figure this out. I have 2 other kids who aren't as lucky. So what I would like to know is, what is the school district doing about that? Why don't you guys have something across the board so that my children are not teaching themselves? This is utterly ridiculous. Ridiculous. I emailed Mrs. Toth, and I was told a blanket statement. It's up to your student's teacher. Why? Why is it up to my student's teacher to teach my child? That's what they're here for. They're teach my child. My child, for 6 days that he was not in school, did not get taught anything in his classes. He had to teach himself. Think about that. Please consider a blanket sort of education plan in the future, because right now there isn't one. Thank you.
I'll give you my card in a second, but piggybacking off of what she said, my kid's bus was canceled today at 6:30 in the morning, right? School starts at 7:30. We had no way to get our kids home from school, so we kept them home for the day. So my kids now are up at 7 o'clock, and they were proactive and emailed their teachers. And their teacher said, well, we can't provide any of that information to you until 4 o'clock after school. So now my kids have sat home all day, have done nothing, okay? And now at 4 o'clock, now they're getting assignments, but now they have to work till 7 o'clock in the afternoon to get their work. Okay, that is, I would think, unacceptable. I think that teachers should have a plan in place, and they should be, before school starts, issue on Google Classroom assignments for the day. If there's going to be bus issues, if there's going to be quarantine issues, or anything like that, they should have the assignments for the day. Okay? Now let's talk about quarantine. I also teach. I have several 40 students out, 30 students out a day. My question is, where's the statistics that say we're quarantining these kids, but what actual percentage of these kids have contracted COVID? Why are we doing that? Why are we quarantining kids that have been within a space of 6 feet for more than 15 minutes? Why are we doing that? Where are the statistics? Where are the numbers that state that these kids are at risk? I know there's several school districts in the area that are dropping that. Maybe we should consider it as well. Buses, I understand there's a shortage of people that are doing that, and I know you guys are rotating it, so I appreciate that. Okay, but I think that you kind of got to get it together as far as, you know, what are the teachers' responsibilities. I know for me, my stuff has to be posted, and I have to have it out at 6:30 in the morning for kids that are not in school. It should be the same across the board. There has to be a plan. A teacher just can't say, well, check my board at 4 o'clock in the evening. Well, okay, if you're going to do that, then my kid's got another day to do the work. Because you just went through a school day and didn't give my kid any educational, anything. So now, at 4 o'clock, they're doing the work. Well, they should have the next day to turn that stuff in, or 2 days to turn that in. And some teachers don't do that. So I think that needs to be considered.
Thank you. Please make sure you provide us the card. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak tonight? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kim Argentati. I've spoken here before. Actually, what I'm bringing up tonight is has to do with my 2 daughters who participate in indoor winter sports at the high school. And I want to reference the MHSAA Winter Sports Guidance that came out on November 3rd. and specifically what they say about masking for participation in an active indoor sports. Have anybody seen this? Have you guys seen it? So you are aware of it. All right, so in case nobody's not aware of it, I will read it. They're very clear in the guidance saying that schools within it should be following the orders of their local county health department. I get it, that's what they're saying. But then they also come through with what their recommendations, what they personally recommend for participating in indoor sport. And it says, for those local county health departments or school districts with a mask requirement, the MHSAA recommends that those schools within those areas consider and propose an exception that allows for students and officials in active participation to do so without a face mask. The wearing of face masks in some sports during active participation, such as wrestling, swimming and diving, competitive cheer, basketball, gymnastics, could create, I'm going to say this, could create safety hazards that have been identified by national medical organizations. So here you have MHSAA saying their recommendations based on indoor participation of an indoor sport. And then you have your policy that you are following from Oakland County. So where do you cherry pick what you do? This kind of ties into what the first mom talked about the board as a whole standing up for our kids and going to Oakland County. We're doing that, some are, when we can, because that's what we're being told to do. Parents need to go and fight, we need to go and fight. Well, we need our board to fight for us too. We need our board and our superintendents to come there and fight. When you see someone like MHSAA doing their recommendations, kids should not be wearing masks when they're participating in an indoor sport indoors. So I guess my question to you guys is, what are you going to do about this recommendation from MHSAA? Are you going to fight for us? Are you going to talk to Oakland County about it? Are you going to present the data, the stats? What are you going to do? Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Hi, Joe Cusimano. Just winging it tonight, guys. First, thanks for all the email exchanges a couple weeks ago. Appreciate it. Very timely on some of those, so again, appreciate it. Seconding the comments on MHSAA, I've commented on this before. You go to the volleyball games, you go to the basketball games, you go to the swim meets. The kids are wearing them as chin guards anyway. It's nice now that we have a state organization making the recommendation that was just mentioned. Even the officials aren't wearing the masks in a lot of cases. Those that want to wear them, and quite a few don't, and nobody seems to care. So why not make it official? We even have a state organization now making that suggestion. So seconding those comments. Quarantine guidelines, well, let me back up. Via email, we've gone back and forth about MCL 333-2453 versus some of the newer laws that were passed. Understand the situation there. I don't want to harp on that one. But quarantining, right? A couple of people have mentioned this already. A lot of the local districts are loosening the quarantines. This is inside your circle of influence. This is inside what you guys have the ability to do. It'd be great to start loosening those quarantine guidelines. Some of the crazy practices we've seen, an entire group of students that gets exposed at the lunch table has to stay home, yet the sibling of the person that had COVID that lives with them in the same home gets to come to school because they weren't seen at the lunch table with that group of kids, right? So there's a lot of inconsistencies in the execution. And again, because it's guidelines and not necessarily mandates, we all can point to other districts in the state of Michigan that have looser quarantine guidelines. I think it's time. If kids are asymptomatic, let them stay in school. I think it makes a lot of sense. Finally, I had emailed each of you, and I think a lot of parents did, the Oxford School Board situation that evolved a couple weeks ago. I'm going to go home and watch what they're talking about tonight. They issued that request for resolution to the state of Michigan and to Oakland County Health Department. As far as we know from about 3 days ago, Oxford School still had not had any feedback yet from the state of Michigan, the AG, but they had been going back and forth with Oakland County Health Department. Don't know what that feedback is, other than just to kind of tell you we're watching that. I thought their approach, while awful bold with the date, I was like, wow, I don't think I would put a date in there the way they did in their resolution request. I thought it was pretty accurate and representative of the exchange you and I that I've had with the board members. It kind of summarized the situation nicely and asked for a resolution request. So we're all kind of watching that. At least some of us parents are really watching to see if Oxford schools get some feedback. And of course, we'll be sharing that with you based on whatever we hear. So we're not going away. We're going to be here all year. We're going to come to every meeting until we get back to normal. I know there's only certain things inside your circle of influence, but we're going to be pushing the envelope all year and urging you to keep moving the ball forward. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Yep.
Hi, Gino Montez, resident of South Lyon. I wasn't going to speak tonight. I speak at every meeting regarding the same thing, the masks. I've spoken with you guys. I understand you're in a tight spot with Oakland County and their rules or mandates. But I forgot who was talking about how you guys were saying that, let me catch my thought here since I wasn't prepared. About you guys are getting all these emails from the opposite side, and you can't please everybody. So why are we pleasing that side only? When everything was going to start and the masks were going to be optional, to me, that's pleasing everybody. You want to send your kid to school with a mask, go ahead. You don't want to, you don't believe in it, don't send them. So the people that send their kids with a mask that are complaining that that other kid doesn't have a mask, again, if they work, they should be fine about it. But we're only pleasing that side. So the way it sounds to me is we're only listening to them. I don't see them here. I come to every meeting. I've seen maybe 1, 2 people that talk about them wanting masks. We're here saying no masks, but they don't even come because they feel like, hey, it doesn't matter what the other side thinks. We're going to send our kids with masks, we're going to complain, and they're just going to listen to us. I guess like we are the silent majority, and I was kind of hoping we'd see a lot more people here tonight. Like you guys said, if we have a football field of people out here, then, okay, that'll do something. But a lot of people are tired of coming. Again, I wasn't going to speak because I feel like I'm just talking till I'm blue in the face. I don't know if it gets to the point where you guys are just like, okay, it's the same thing every every meeting. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next subject. But please consider that, like they said, go to Oakland County, do what you guys can do. And again, if you want to please people, if they want to wear a mask, you're good. We're not saying don't send your kid with a mask even though you want to. They're saying you guys need to send your kid with a mask because we feel safe that way. So please consider that. And if you want to please people, just let us unmask our kids and keep them kids masked. And I think it should be, everyone should be happy. But again, the other side, I don't think that anything will please them no matter what we do. So anyway, that's it. Just please consider it, and consider again the kids, their mental capacity, everything that they go through with these masks. My kid got in trouble again because his mask was below his nose at Kids Club, and I told him, I said, I'm not going to yell at him. I'm not going to say anything to him because he wasn't put on this earth to wear a mask. So, and he's 7. So anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Mr. Montez, anyone else like to make a comment? Okay, hearing none. Item number 20 is correspondence. We have our teacher tenure status report, several resignations listed. Item number 21 is our meeting dates for the remainder of the year. That brings us to board comments. Ms. Youngquist Pierce, would you like to go first?
Sure. I'd first like to say thank you to all of you parents and community members who have come out tonight. I do truly appreciate hearing from everyone and the differing perspectives. I know some of you do come to every meeting and you bring something new each time you come, so I truly appreciate hearing that. Oxford Schools was brought up, and I just saw an interesting thing that they put forward to their state representatives that is maybe something we should consider asking for the Attorney General to give an opinion, because we've consistently sat up here and discussed the problems with the different laws and the interplay between them, and that they weren't underdone. So if the Attorney General's hand is forced, that hopefully a memo would come out, this is how the law is going to apply, these are how the different ones, and you're not going to give up any of your immunity for this, and the district stays protected, then I think that, that is the party who should be doing that, and it shouldn't be the districts footing the legal bills for this to try and figure this out because of the conflicting language that has been put into place. So I think that that was a unique approach that Oxford put forward that maybe we should think of looking at, and apparently state representatives push for that to the Attorney General. On quarantining, I agree, and maybe it's something that we do need to look at. I don't like hearing that kids aren't being taught and that there isn't a plan in place. We implemented a lot of electronic resources last year that, and I get that teachers potentially, it's a very challenging scenario for them, but we, especially at the high school, middle school level with Google Classroom, it seems that assignments could be put in, so I think it's something we need to look at to be consistent, because it's not fair to have kids quarantined for 10 days without instruction, so it's disheartening to hear that, so we need to look into that, and we need to do better to make sure that kids who are in quarantine do get the instruction that they need to have. Truly appreciate the difficulty with busing. I know we have our new transportation director who is working diligently to hire. They're trying to put out those notices as soon as possible, but unfortunately, if too many people call in sick, if there's someone missing, it results in a late cancellation, and it is, very difficult on all families. Completely understand. Again, that goes back to, we need to all be accommodating, so, if students are going to be out as much as possible, if we could, work on talking to our instructional staff, we have these kids out and these are issues, as much as possible, let's try and put things in Google Classroom as early as possible, or, give grace where grace can be given to allow assignments an extra day. Indoor sports, I completely agree. I dance once a week, and we just got masks put back into place, and it is the worst. So I feel for our athletes, and I think if we can definitely look at something like that, see what MHSAA is saying versus what the mandate is requiring, and potentially look at that, because, I watch all the pictures getting posted of all of our sports teams, and every single one has their mask pulled down. So what are we really accomplishing at this point with it? So I think it's something definitely to look at, because it does impact our athletes when they're playing. And I guess on to some more positive things. Welcome to all of our new staff. Thank you to the very generous donors who have given to our robotics teams. Congratulations to the staff who have made tenure. Want to encourage everyone to wear blue on Friday for the Blue Out event for type 1 diabetes. I know that they've done really well, and it's been great to speak. I know the elementary level, they had some pretty great discussions, and the kids learning about that. So if everyone could help support that, that would be great. And amazing job by all of our sports teams. Some tremendous performance from the Southline football team, our East swimmers, the cross-country team, our soccer team, and other football team who made it to district. And huge congratulations to the Southline East Band and their tremendous performance.
Thank you, Ms. Younkless-Pierce. Mr. Leftwich.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dashner. I've been a teacher for close to 20 years now in my life, and one thing that I can say from all the schools that I've worked at, and consistent with my own experience as a student, is that vocal music teachers are special people, and they have a different kind of relationship and rapport with their students, just based on the topic that they teach and the way that they teach it, and they create relationships in a different way and memories for students. And I didn't get to meet Mrs. Badish, but by all accounts this week, in talking to my colleagues here in South Lyon, she fit the bill for that very special kind of music teacher that I have experienced in my life. So I want to extend my condolences and sympathies to her family and to her colleagues. I know it was a very difficult week for a lot of people here. Additionally, I feel like some of our teachers have taken a little bit of a beating tonight with some issues involving getting assignments online and meeting all of the never-ending demands of COVID teaching. It's very difficult. It's very difficult for a teacher at 6:30 in the morning to pivot on a lesson that was in class designed for the students who are there, to suddenly have that available in an online format for everybody else. And I just ask that everybody gives a little grace to the teachers. They are running a marathon. This COVID pandemic has been very, very difficult to manage from the classroom perspective. And I think it's important to give that grace and to be kind to them and to remember the professionalism and to stop and think of the thousands of things that they did right first before that one mistake or that one criticism, because they are working incredibly hard. And I had a colleague tell me that right now teaching, it feels like running a marathon that you didn't train for. Like that's what it feels like in the third year of the pandemic, and it's really challenging. And the more kind people can be, and the more grace they can give, and the more they can communicate with an open mind about what's happening with their kids and in their classrooms, I think it would benefit everybody. I think it would be beneficial to remember that as we consider the challenges and the difficulties of this pandemic. So that'll end my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Liftwich. Mrs. Ertel?
Yes, thank you to everybody that has come out tonight and had, and also thank you to everyone who's had kind words about Mrs. Badish. I did not know her. We were at the other middle school, but I was very heartened to see a lot of the wonderful things that were said about her and her teaching and her students online and on social media, especially since that's been so bitterly divided lately. Unfortunately, it was a very sad topic, but I wish I had known her. She seemed like a wonderful person and that type of teacher that just, what I loved was she could be tough, but the kids loved her. And I think that's like the best teacher on the face of the planet, is that they can make such a difference in the kid's life. And I feel for her family, and my thoughts are with them for as long as they need them. It's going to be a tough time with such a sudden loss. So thank you to the community for coming together and taking care of the students and the staff and of Mrs. Badish and her family. I'm sure her family just adore and love reading the positive comments about their mother, or their spouse, or their aunt, or their child even. I can't imagine what they're going through. So from somebody who didn't know her, I feel like I know her after listening to the story. So my condolences. Congratulations to all the sports teams. I do want to mention, little pivot from sports. We do have some wonderful theater productions coming up. We have Southline High School is this weekend. In case anyone's afraid of the title, since it has the word Shakespeare in it, It's a comedy. So please come to the show. Tickets are online. And the kids are so excited. When I'm there picking up for after rehearsals, they're laughing and having a great time and giggling at their own jokes. So I can only imagine how fun it must be if you've never seen it before. And then I believe it's next weekend. South Line East has, I believe it's A Christmas Story. I tend to wonder if they found a lamp that's appropriate for that. So go and support the theater programs along with the athletic programs. If anyone's not into football, please come to the theater program. We have a little competition. I think we're going to be a little lightly attended on Friday night since the football team's playing. So come support the theater kids and the arts. And there was something else I was going to say, and of course it has left me, so I will leave it at that. Have a good week.
Thank you, Mr. Tell. Mr. Abate?
Thank you, Mr. Dashner. So all of what I have to say this evening is for Angie. And I might need to take my time, so I apologize. So I had the privilege of working with Angie for 8 years, Millennium, and she was a huge personality. Yeah. She had this, she was always smiling, she's always laughing. She had sort of this kind of smoky kind of voice with this little bit of a southern accent twinge to it. And she'd come in and she'd laugh and she'd smile and you just felt good to be around her. And, you know, she had these huge choirs, huge epic. And people had their kids in there. And for years she taught on her prep because there's so many kids wanted to be part of that group. And that was more time that she could get those kids into that. And they went everywhere. They traveled and they competed and they celebrated their achievements. And it was quite a thing. And you know, sorry, for once I struggle to speak a bit. You know, when teachers give their gifts to the community, and she was tremendously gifted, and when you give the way that she did with so much heart and so much generosity and selflessness, the impact is immeasurable, and so is the loss. But you know, and I'll just say, as Mr. Leverage kind of alluded to a little bit, teachers, I don't know if all of them feel that way, but from time to time in a teacher's career, when things get rough, there are some kernels of doubt that pop up. You wonder maybe if you've done enough, if you are moving the needle for anybody, if you're making a difference, and that's hard. But one of the greatest gifts that teachers get out of that entire experience is seeing that what they've done has mattered for somebody, and to have a kid come back and to express what that time meant to them in your class, and seeing everybody, the outpouring on the internet, and being with her and seeing it live all those years. Kids didn't miss opportunities to tell her how much they appreciated her, and because of that, the comfort that the small comfort that I take in all of this is that when Angie passed, there was no kernel of doubt about the impact she had. There was only certainty that her life and her career was well spent. And she was a gift to this district, and I thank her, and I bless her and her family, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abate. Mr. Kennedy?
I don't think I can elucidate any better than my colleagues have on every point they've discussed tonight. My thoughts and prayers, my daughters, my wife's, are with Angie's family. That's all I have.
Thank you. Answering some of the things that came up during public comment, vaccine mandates out of the county, we have not heard anything that they intend to do that. That also doesn't mean they're not talking about it behind closed doors. We just don't know. We haven't heard. At the district level, we have no interest in mandating a vaccine. In our mind, that should be like any other vaccine. That requirement would happen at the state level and follow waivers for people that are opposed to them. That's not something we're looking to get in the middle of as a district. As to those of you that come here to the meetings and ask us to advocate for your position, you have to remember, we're elected by the community, and not the entire community shares your opinion on things. We understand you want choice. We get that. We get there's a lot of other people that want mask mandates in place. We have to represent the entire community, and going to Oakland County to fight to get rid of masks to support your position would put us in a position of not supporting the rest of the community. And you cannot agree with it. You can shake your head, that's fine. But we are staying silent on the issue with Oakland County Health Department. We address the things that don't make sense with them. We do it privately. That's the way things happen. If there's legislation we don't like, we don't stand out in the public square and, you know, broadcast at the top of our lungs we don't like it. We work with our senators and our representatives, telling them what's wrong with it, and we work that way to get it fixed, because that's the way it happens. You know, same thing with the health department. Superintendent Archibald is in meetings with them. I'm in meetings with them. We ask questions. We push. We do what we can. But we're not going to start going to board meetings, things like that, to advocate for a position that only a portion of our community has, because we got to represent everyone. I would like to thank everyone that donated, Ford, General Motors, and the other generous people that donated to the robotics programs. It's very much appreciated. And lastly, and I cannot say it any better than anyone said it before me, but to the family of Mrs. Badish, just understand that you have our deepest condolences, and we are tremendously sorry for your loss. And with that, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Okay, moved by Ms. Youngquist Pierce, supported by Mr. Leftwich. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:02 p.m.
Steve, this is great. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
I got this one for the new order. This is a mail.
You look familiar? It did.